Here we go. All right. Welcome, Ashley Cooper. This is
Hello.
hello. So fun. I love this. Totally real interview here. Ashley, you're in your car, busy
Yes.
mom, two young girls. This is sometimes what we have to do as parents, right? In order to get it
Yes.
done. Yeah.
The quietest spot in the house is in my car.
Yes, absolutely. I totally understand. Okay, so Ashley is the mom of two amazing young girls, ages 4 and 1, Addie and Avery. She's a dental hygienist at a super busy practice. And the reason I'm so excited to bring Ashley on is that you've made amazing changes in your life in an incredibly short time. And Ashley is someone who she's going to share her story, but basically was, someone who could never imagine going more than a couple hours without eating, just like I had started out in this journey. So fasting was something that had piqued her interest, but just never felt like it was in her wheelhouse. Not only has she started doing it, she's crushing it. And I think it's safe to say it's completely changed your life.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. So Ashley's going to share all about this stuff, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So Ashley, why don't we just start by kind of talking about, I guess it would have been like 8 months or so ago before you started anything?
Yes.
Around that, how you were feeling and what like daily life was like for you as far as energy and.
Yes, exactly. I had my youngest. She is a year and a half now. So I really noticed things, after having her, because I can remember saying, oh, I have a new baby and now I'm a mom to two. And I made all of my excuses around that. So I can really remember after having Avery, the first time of feeling like I even spoke with you about it before. I felt like something was really the matter with me, like something bad wrong. I would research chronic fatigue. I even self-diagnosed myself with that.
Oh, shoot, Ashley, I'm so sorry. Oh, it is working. Okay.
Yay!
Never mind. I thought
Yeah.
our audio wasn't recording. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's good. Awesome.
Okay.
I was finding myself, even after the new baby got older, finding myself still just napping any moment that I was available to me. I would wake up in the morning and honestly think about when can I nap today? My husband would comment to me on it and say, you're so tired often, do you think that that's normal? And I would be defensive and say, I'm nursing a baby, I'm working, I'm up with her. And I just kept discounting it in my mind. But then, like I said, I was researching things and I knew I didn't feel great. But yes, he is gone often. He works nights a lot, my husband, and he has in the spring and summer and early fall, he has a side job with mowing. So it's me a lot of the times, and with the girls. And I was finding when I would get home, especially on work days, I had nothing in me to give my girls. I could barely make it through dinner, barely make it through their bath time. I just would watch the clock and wait for bedtime. I mean, I could not wait until bedtime just because I was so tired. So yeah, I would definitely say within, for sure 8-9 months, because now she's a year and a half. So I realized she's sleeping through the night. I'm not nursing anymore. So when I realized, wow, a lot of these things are still going on, then that's when I started thinking, something was probably really wrong with me.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and like you said, not having the energy for your kids and waking up tired and having those naps. I think a lot of us, especially as moms, when we have young kids, we think that that's normal. And I think, of course, there is part of that phase of our life that we are going to be extra tired, but it's almost like a different kind of tired, right? When you're
Oh yeah.
now that you know the difference. So
Yes. I never once thought of it as a nutrition issue that never crossed my mind. And it wasn't until I was deep into this that I even had the aha moment of, wow, naps are so far out of anything that I would do now. Yes. So it wasn't until I was deep into this that I realized, oh my goodness. So at the time, I never thought nutrition. I never thought of those things at all.
And how nice to not feel that way when you get home to your girls, right?
Oh my
You want that
goodness.
time.
It's just life changing. It's pretty
So
major.
good. Talk to me a little bit about before you got into any of this, and we'll talk about how you got into it next. But what was your current like nutrition like, or your eating schedule like?
Well, I definitely am self-admitted carbaholic. I loved, still probably do. Just don't I know what that love of carbs does to me now. So I have always been a person that lived on carbs, lived on junk food, grew up that way. College, it just got worse. So my nutrition has always been very poor. Now, there would be times that I would try to diet and make this big attempt at being healthy, and it would last a very short time, and then I would go right back into my poor eating. Now that I have the girls, I used to think, and my husband, like I was saying, works nights a lot. I used to think cereal for dinner was fine. I did that often. I would pick off their plate as I was making their food. I would just eat, 10 goldfish here, or whatever they had, and think that that was okay. But the poor aspects of that, I definitely have learned since then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of us start there, right? A lot of us, I mean, carbs are yummy.
Yes,
Good.
they
And
are.
again, we were taught not that long ago that eating every couple hours was fine, and that these low fat, low calorie, snacks are pretty
Mm-hmm.
harmless. But again, like you're saying, the more you've learned about nutrition, and the more you learn about how these foods literally affect us, and when you feel that, it's so mind blowing what that small change can do as far as how you
Oh,
feel.
absolutely. Yes. And so, yes, I have not had great nutrition at all until really these last couple of months.
You've made major changes in such a short amount of time that we really think about it, right?
Yes. April
Okay.
28th was the day.
Yes, that's right. That was when we
Yes.
started. Okay, so what had you heard about fasting, and maybe what were your fears, which are probably fears that a lot of people have around fasting that are hearing it for the first time in the fasting series?
Yes. Fasting for me, prior to these last few months was something that I always just thought about in the spiritual world, religious aspects of it. Um, More recently, when you hear about it in the nutrition part, I, would find it, kind of interesting, but I never would dive into learning more about it because I immediately chalked up to that is something I can never do. Like we were saying, I had to eat. I mean, I would wake up every day and minus thinking about when I was going to take that nap, the next thing was, what am I going to eat? I had to put a little bit of food in my body as soon as I woke up because I would feel sick if I did not. Um, and then the rest of my day went that way. I would eat, have that little bit of something, eat breakfast, 2-3 hours, I would have my snack, then lunch, and then again, have my other snack. Um, it was kind of a running joke with people that knew me of we have to make sure we feed her, especially my husband. I'm making him sound awful. He really isn't. But
No, you're not.
he would just say, we have to feed you. Do we have to feed you? If we would be on a road trip or if it was a long day in the car, he's like, we got to pull over and feed you. Um, and he was right. I mean, I would get a very sinking, fading feeling if I didn't eat. I mean, I would feel very shaky, and I didn't feel great. So that would refuel me in the old me of knowing what I thought was the fuel that I needed. And that would get me by the next, couple of hours. So um, fasting for me was never an option. I just knew I have to wake up, I have to eat, and I have to eat every few hours or I will feel awful. So I never even considered it because I just knew that I couldn't do it.
Sure. Yeah, it wouldn't feel good. And like we've talked about, your body was running off glucose.
Yes.
And when we start fasting and when we incorporate fasting, a lot of times we learn to run off fat. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we're running off glucose, we need those outside in stores, and we need them every 2 or 3 hours, or we have that blood sugar dip and we feel awful. So of course, when we're used to running off that system, fasting sounds not fun at all.
Yes.
Okay, so Amir, actually, that was April 28th, April, May, June, July, 3 months ago.
Yes.
3 months you've made these changes, Ashley. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how did things change for you?
Well, pretty immediately in the April 28th is the day I joined your private coaching group. And so immediately we were able to dive into nutrition. Having a science-based background, with my degree and just being a science person, the nutrition aspect was very intriguing to me. So we quickly started learning about nutrition, learning about how to get our body into ketosis. A little funny about the program, since it'll later when you learn that fasting is the only thing I can imagine now. But I remember emailing either yourself or Andrea and asking, can I do the program but not fast? Because I was very set on I would not fast, but I wanted to learn the nutrition and learn about ketosis. And anyhow, I remember emailing either of you and saying, can I do it but not fast? So anyhow, as we got into the program and baby steps led you through the nutrition and then getting us into ketosis, it was a little bit slow. It was hard for me. There wasn't anything really that I had to struggle with. Um, I did struggle a little bit with leg cramps.
Mm-hmm, I remember that.
However, we remedied those pretty quickly. And
Yeah,
so,
which a lot of people will
um,
get when they first drop their carbs, right? You drop
yeah,
carbs, you're starting to drop fat, and with that, a lot of people lose electrolytes. So we had to balance your electrolytes,
yeah. So we
which is why we
remedied
always
that.
say sea
But
salts. Sea salts
yes,
so important.
yeah. But that was really my only struggle, really. Um, it did take a little bit longer for me to get into ketosis. But as I learned through the program, that was mostly in part to me being toxic from my years of poor nutrition. So it did take a little bit longer. Um, Once I arrived to being in ketosis and then gave in to the fasting because I did do the fasting aspect, then it was so huge for me. The very first thing that I can recall happening is the energy. I would leave work and think, wow, I'm not feeling the things that I was feeling before. I would go outside and had all of this energy to spend with my girls, and I was actually engaging in play with them and would, take my oldest is 4 and she loves to act things out. And before I'd say, just put on a show for mommy. Well, then I became in the show now and had the energy to do that and do their dinners and bath time and actually be engaging in bath time and be fun with it and not just rush through it as a task. Um, I then, would have extra time for books or games or different things at night that we would do before we would get them in bed. So the energy for my girls and just myself, but that was one of the first things that it was so nice to come home. And I'm not saying that I was a bad mom before, but to come home and not feel so tired and that I had nothing left to give, because they are my world and I wanted to give them everything. And time goes so fast, as you know. I try to embrace these moments that they're little, and I wasn't doing that before. I was wishing it away because I was just so tired. I I look back and I just truthfully can't stress enough how I was barely getting through my days, mainly going through the motions of my days. But anyhow, that was the first thing. Secondly, was mental clarity. That has been huge. I actually saw you on one of your interviews that you fasted the entire day so that you would be really on point for your interview. So I've done the same today. Wanted to be really clear in my thoughts. Um, I noticed that really with at work with my patients. I would find myself not being able to formulate what my thoughts were, not being able to articulate those thoughts to my patients. Um, and that now for me is gone. I mean, I'm able to be more sharp with talking with my patients. So I love that. Um, Also, like we were saying earlier, the blood sugar. I do not ever have those feelings that I had before. Never. So I definitely don't have to refuel with food every 2-3 hours. I don't have the crashing feeling. And I never knew that it wasn't normal to need that 2 p.m. snack, to need that sweet something, that salty something. I never knew that that wasn't normal. I mean, that was just my everyday, especially around 2 o'clock, needing that something sweet or salty. And so that's pretty huge, having the blood sugar be, I guess, balanced now, so to speak. I know it's more so my fuel is different, but that has been another huge thing for me, just not being on this roller coaster all day long, feeling steady. It's been really nice.
Incredible. Good job. Okay. And so it's like you had said, I don't know if you touched on it in here, but you had said you feel like you're a better mom. Not that you were a bad mom before by any stretch of the word, but just to have that time with your girls is so nice.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly thinking at work, right? So a better practitioner for your patients. And I guess what I would want to share now with everybody is how are you maintaining this? Like what's your schedule for the week? You said you're using fasting now regularly.
Yes. In your private coaching program, you teach us about a 5-1-1 method. I know last week in this series, you touched on what that is, and I know that that's something you're going to be addressing more. But basically, it's 5 days of intermittent fasting, 1 day of a longer fast of 24 hours, and then one feast or fuel day. So after the program, I've really stuck to the 5-1-1. I will be very real with, there are times that especially around my cycle, that the carb craving wins. So I may have a little bit of an off day. And so in that case, rather than like in my past, just falling off and continuing to, I know the tools now to get back on track. So I may add an extra longer fast in, and that kind of, I've learned, reverses a little bit of the damage I did with partaking in the carb craving when it gets to me.
Well, and your body's really smart, Ash. So we actually need those carb days before our cycle. And I'm going to do an interview that'll be on the YouTube channel with Dr. Mindy Peltz, and we're going to focus on that and why feasting is really important, just like you said, in the weekly maintenance. And then feasting is also really, really important in about the 5 days leading up to our cycle. So you're doing exactly as you should. And we need those carbohydrates to help make our hormones. So you're tapping in, you're listening to what your body's asking for. And that's great. So you do 5 days of intermittent fasting. one
Yes.
day of now, do you do a weekly 24-hour fast?
The way that I have been doing the longer fast is from dinner one evening and then going through the next day and having dinner the next day. So I'm really eating each day. I'm just using my 24 hours overnight and then doing a longer fast during the day. I personally choose Thursdays because that's my busy day at work and then my busy day in the evening with either soccer or dance for Addison. And so it makes it really easy. So I just eat dinner Wednesday evening. I try to finish it up, as early as I can. And then I don't eat again until Thursday at dinner. That is my favorite day of the week. I feel my bear on Thursdays. And so I love it, which is pretty amazing for me to say coming from the person that used to have to eat every 2 hours, but it's my favorite day of the week because I definitely feel my very best.
Perfect. So you're doing essentially an OMAD or one meal a day on that
Yes.
24-hour shift. Yeah. And crazy again. So when you're used to running off glucose, fasting on your busiest day at work would sound awful. And like
Oh,
you, I
yes.
do the same I do the same thing. I fast on my busiest day, and it makes it makes your day easy because you feel better, but it also makes like meal planning so easy because you don't have to do it.
So easy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so what would you say, Ashley, for anyone considering fasting?
I definitely think I love the analogy that you have used recently with if you were to sign up for a marathon the day before the race and you went and did the race and ran the marathon, half marathon, um, you wouldn't like it. It wouldn't feel good to you. Um, and it wouldn't be something that you would want to go back and do again. So I feel like that's so incredibly true with the fasting that if you jump into it, you're probably not going to like it. If you train your body, you go into it slowly. That's what we do in your private coaching. That's why I didn't even realize that I was fasting at first. And then it was the aha moments of, oh my goodness, I made it 12 hours. And then it was 13. And then it became personal challenges for myself to see if I could go longer the next day. But anyhow, training your body and going into it slowly, I feel like is the key to success with the fasting because that really works so well. Um, it is life changing. If there's anybody that is like me with um, having no energy, feeling like you don't have anything left for your kids when you get home from work, or if you're at home with them all day, um, this is life changing. I mean, I didn't know what it was like to have this type of energy. I explained it to someone the other day that those for women, they know this that at the very tail end of pregnancy, when you somehow get this surge of energy, and it's called the nesting time, that you are able to. I was able to, I always said, I just want to bottle up that energy for, sorry, my neighbor's trying to, she's trying to wave at me on my car window and I'm trying to look ahead. She's probably wondering why I'm sitting in my driveway and talking to my steering wheel. So I got sidetracked. Sorry. She moved on though. She realized that I couldn't talk. But anyhow, I always said I wish I could bottle that energy up of those few days where you're able to nest right before you have the baby. And that's the best way to describe this energy that you get every day. I didn't even know that it existed. So it's so worth it for that. And I'm stealing a lot from you, but things that you have said is so profound and it sticks with me. And it becomes very mental when you can get past the mental aspect of it. Then it really does become easy. That was maybe a little struggle at first, was thinking it's breakfast, I need to be eating, but then mentally knowing, no, you don't. I'm making my girls their dinner, I need to be eating too, just mentally getting past that. Then it becomes really easy. But something that you said that is really profound with me is deprivation. I went into it feeling like, but I'll be deprived of pizza, or I'll be deprived of going for an afternoon ice cream with my girls. And what I've learned from this is, if I go back to the old me, I'm depriving myself then. I'm depriving my girls, I'm depriving my husband, I'm depriving my patients, because that version of me was not healthy. It was not good. And so I'm not saying that I don't have a few treats here and there, but I'll never go back to how it was before, because I know now what it's like to actually feel good, to actually have so much to give for my family. And if you're even on the fence at all, just try it for a week. And I mean, I noticed really quickly within a week differences. So I definitely say to do it, because you will never regret it, ever regret it. It will be the best thing you can ever do for yourself.
Love it. You've done so many great things.
Thank you.
So you basically, Ashley, you started at 12-hour fasts, right?
Yes.
So we covered intermittent fasting in the fasting series last week, where you can essentially start doing 12 hours and you count at night. So you fast for 12 hours, you eat for 12 hours, you change nothing else, that's it.
Yes.
If that becomes easy, you bump to 13.
Yes.
If or when that becomes easy, you bump to 14. What Ashley did right around that point, or with that point, was she joined our 7-week virtual coaching group. That's what she's talking about, where we basically teach people how to get into ketosis in a healthy way. And then we incorporate fasting as an option. You don't have to, but everybody actually ends up doing it because they see how easy it is. And then, like Ashley says, it's life-changing. And I love that you don't feel deprived. You feel like you're a better version of yourself. And I love that you're doing this as a lifestyle. And of course, it's totally fine to have those treats now and then. That's what life's all about. And that's how we actually maintain this as a lifestyle. So I'm so incredibly proud of you. It's insane how much you've done in 3 months, and I'm so glad to be here with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time and hiding in your car to help teach other people how easy this can be.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It definitely was an honor when you asked if I would come on, because you have such an elite lineup of people, and I just really appreciate that too. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're top of the top notch for me, Ashley. I'm so incredibly proud of you for having faith in yourself and taking this leap for you and for your family. So it's an honor for me.
Thank you so much.